afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Live at 4 on this Monday. Hope you all had a good weekend.
Made it through the storms. A lot of people had a lot of damage. And I saw you had a small river behind your house.
It always floods back there, but yeah, it's crazy weather, and it's going to continue. It's July.
I know. Happy July.
Happy July.
July 1st.
And coming up today, Dr. Zorba Pastor is going to be along.
That's right. A little later this hour, we'll tell you when it's time to call in. If you have a question for Zorba, he'll be joining us here in the studio this afternoon. That's coming up.
Yep, let you know when to call. But first, here's what's making news on this Monday. An investigation is underway after a shooting during Madison's Shake the Lake.
Some city leaders are calling for stricter gun control following Saturday's shooting.
And in international news, there's massive demonstrations in the streets of Hong Kong on the 22nd anniversary of China taking control of the former British colony.
It's all very hard for me to watch. I lived there for 5 years.
You went to high school there.
We'll have that story in just a little while. Let's take a look outside today. It's another hot and humid afternoon, soaking up the sun.
Yeah, the flowers are loving it, that's for sure. And it's staying humid, unsettled. Our own unsettled Dave Caulfield is in the backyard with the latest on that. Dave, you there?
Where is Dave?
He's not there.
He's probably going to get a cool drink.
He's so unsettled, he's not. I hear you. There.
Hey, guys.
Boy, you look a
Sorry.
little...
Yeah, our camera angle was a little bit unsettled there. The flowers are a lot more beautiful than I am, at least today. Not every day, but today, that is. The humidity is still with us, that is for sure. It will come with us as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. There is a slight chance of a shower or storm, mainly north of Madison tonight. We can actually see a few of those storms forming closer to Black River Falls. Some storms could be a little bit on the strong to severe side, but again, I think that threat exists mostly to the north and west of Madison tonight. Tomorrow, that could be a different story. In Madison, we're looking at partly sunny skies on the WISC-TV Skycam. Temperatures are in the mid to upper 80s. It feels, though, a little bit closer to 90 degrees. In fact, feeling like the mid 90s where that humidity is higher in Platteville and Mineral Point. So your day planner for the next couple of hours, temperatures will fall through the 80s into the 70s under partly to mostly cloudy skies. Then as we head into tomorrow, showers and storms are possible once again. So here's your first alert traffic update. Whitney Way, and the Beltline. There was an accident on the shoulder causing a few delays here and there. That is still there, but not too much in the way of backups showing up, so that's good news. Otherwise, no major accidents or incidents to report across Dane County. Traffic is generally heading out at the posted speeds, except for the Beltline, of course, because it is the afternoon. We are at 10 minutes of a drive time eastbound Verona Road to John Nolan with an average speed of around 25 miles per hour. And that is your first alert traffic update. We'll go over storm chances and plus talk about maybe some cooler weather on the way for next weekend in your first alert forecast.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Dave.
And the rain has caused a few mudslides in the area. This train derailed about a quarter of a mile south of Glen Haven in Grant County. About 15 cars were involved. People were asked to avoid the area. We are now learning more about what led up to shots being fired after Shake the Lake Saturday night.
Police are still looking for the shooter and say the 20-year-old man who was shot has been released from the hospital. We have team coverage this afternoon, starting with our Amanda Quintana, who joins us live at Monona Terrace following a news conference with the police chief, the mayor, and city attorney. Amanda?
Yes, well, despite this sign that I just found crumpled up here on the grass, this is where the shots were fired Saturday night, just minutes after those fireworks ended. Now, police are saying that it's a fight that caused this all and that the shooter and the victim knew each other, but they're saying the people involved are not really cooperating, so they still don't know who the shooter is. They did recover a gun here on the scene, and they say that they hope that DNA from that gun eventually leads them to a suspect. The man who was shot was treated and released from the hospital. We also now know one of the several rounds fired here hit Madison Fire Department's vehicle. Today, Chief Cobal ensuring people that the department was ready for anything, and they had put a lot of planning into making sure that this event was safe.
Literally, in an instance like this, we have every contingency covered, whether it be by air, land, or literally by sea, because we would have Dane County Sheriff's boats out there as well. So we are doing an awful lot because we have additional eyes and opportunities to looking at what's happening on the global stage.
He says MPD had physical barriers to block off John Nolan and officers with rifles standing there, something they learned from the terrorist attacks in Europe, that could maybe deter violence. But he says the fact that the event space is an open air forum makes things really hard. They did have dogs here sniffing the area ahead of time, but really it's not, those barriers don't block things off, so anyone can come into this area. And Koval says, like any event, they're taking this, they're learning from it, and they're seeing if there's anything they can do to improve safety next time.
All right, Amanda Quintana reporting live from Monona Terrace. Thank you.
Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway is calling for stricter gun laws following the shooting at Shake the Lake.
She's specifically calling attention to the city's inability to regulate firearms. Our Rose Schmidt is back from a news conference, and she's here to explain. Rose.
Yes, well, Mayor Rhodes-Conway says in an ideal world, the federal government would enact what she calls common sense gun laws involving background checks and restricting military-style weapons. But if not, she says it's up to state lawmakers. She made those comments at that news conference this afternoon with Police Chief Mike Koval. The mayor wants to make it clear that weapons were not allowed at the Shake the Lake event, but she believes more restrictive gun laws would mean fewer on the streets. State law prohibits cities from creating gun laws that are more restrictive than Wisconsin state law. But Rhodes-Conway is pushing for that to change.
And let me be clear, I would like to be able to do more. I would like to be able to control guns in our city more. But the state does not give us that option.
Gun rights advocates say stricter gun laws generally target law-abiding citizens. And if the suspect had been following the law, this shooting would not have happened. Thus, allowing local control over guns would not necessarily have helped. But we'll hear more from the group Wisconsin Carry on News 3 now at 6.
Rose, thank you.
Governor Tony Evers has until Friday to decide if he'll sign the state budget with partial vetoes or reject the whole thing. Republicans are pushing the governor to sign it into law, and they're getting backing from a long-term care facilities group. The group Leading Age Wisconsin controls 200 nursing homes and facilities for the developmentally disabled. They say the two-year budget will provide nearly $234 million in funding for long-term care. The governor has not said what he plans to do. And Governor Evers has signed a bill giving the State Department of Corrections another 6 months to close the youth prison in Lincoln Hills. The facility near Irma has faced allegations of guard-on-prisoner abuse. Lawmakers last year passed a law to close the prison by January of 2021 and create smaller facilities for juvenile offenders. However, lawmakers want to keep the building open longer to allow more time for those facilities to be built. Governor Evers says one of his top priorities is to keep kids out of youth prison.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the Trump administration negotiators will meet their North Korean counterparts to resume talks in the coming weeks. President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un agreed to restart discussions over the weekend during an unprecedented meeting. President Trump became the first sitting American president to enter North Korea, and then the leader spoke for nearly 1 hour. The president believes he's on the right path with North Korea, but some of the Democratic presidential candidates disagree.
I think the relationship that we've developed has meant so much to so many people.
He keeps having these summits and meetings that really don't produce anything.
Talks to dismantle North Korea's nuclear program broke down earlier this year, and despite a hiatus in testing, North Korea has continued to produce materials for nuclear weapons.
Massive new demonstrations filled the streets of Hong Kong on the 22nd anniversary of China taking control of the former British colony. Many anti-government protesters took their case against Beijing directly to the center of government, smashing their way into the legislative chamber. Natalie Brand reports.
Hundreds of protesters poured into Hong Kong's legislative chamber. Wearing helmets and masks, some climbed onto lawmakers' desks and spray-painted slogans on the wall. The crowd rammed an entrance for hours to smash their way inside, where they tore down portraits of legislative leaders. Police threatened appropriate force, and hours later, officers arrived with tear gas to clear the surrounding streets. Protesters are angry at Hong Kong's attempt to change extradition laws to allow suspects to be sent to China to face trial in the mainland's opaque court system. And Monday takes on additional significance since July 1st marks the 22nd anniversary of China taking control of Hong Kong.
We are Hong Kongers. It is our obligation to do this. We are protecting our home.
President Trump is back at the White House after attending the G20 summit in Japan. The Chinese government asked participants at those meetings not to bring up the protests in Hong Kong. Other than saying he hopes the two sides work it out, the president has generally stayed out of the conflict, which has now been escalating for 3 weeks.
We have tried to use a peaceful means, but it's unsuccess. Even 2 million people have up to the street to speak out their voice. The government did not respond.
The heated protests overshadowed an annual pro-democracy rally as hundreds of thousands of others took to the streets peacefully. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
As the protests continued, Hong Kong announced that for security reasons, the central government offices will remain closed tomorrow.
Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris is being attacked over her heritage, but she's receiving support from some of her 2020 rivals. A conservative commentator tweeted, "Kamala Harris is not American black. She is half Indian and half Jamaican." The president's son, Donald Trump Jr., retweeted it, but quickly deleted the post. Political rivals quickly came to Harris's defense. Senator Cory Booker said Harris, quote, doesn't have blank to prove. Senator Elizabeth Warren called the attacks racist and ugly. A spokesman said Trump Jr. had drawn attention to it because he didn't know the senator's background. But Trump Jr. deleted it once he saw that people were misconstruing the intent of his tweet.
Well, still to come at 4, film critic Will Loper will join us.
We'll see what Will thinks of the new movie Yesterday. That's when Live at 4 continues. A record-breaking number of Americans are expected to travel this week for the 4th of July. 48.9 million of us plan to take a trip for the holiday. That's according to AAA. That's up more than 4% from last year.
I'll be taking a trip to work.
Yes, many of us will. Craft beer makers go to extraordinary lengths to brew up the perfect pint.
And lately, that attention to detail has shifted to what's on the outside of the can as well. When it comes to the art of beer, there are few on the same playing field as Hetty Topper. For years, the can has been one of the most sought after in the world. Jen and John Kimmich are the founders of the Alchemist Brewery in Vermont.
And did people react right away when they saw the art on the can?
Absolutely.
We reacted.
The number of craft breweries nationwide has more than tripled in the past 10 years, and now brewers are not only in a race to make the best tasting beers, but they're also competing for your eye. There are entire social media accounts dedicated to the craft of craft beer labels.
Some of them are too pretty to drink.
It's absolutely beautiful. Well, the U.S.-China trade truce for now sent stocks higher. The Dow Industrials added 117 points, closing at 26,717. The Nasdaq Composite Index gained 84, and the S&P 500 was up 22 points for a record high close.
Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
When did you write that?
I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it. The Beatles.
Who?
John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles. Do you genuinely not know who the Beatles are?
Genuinely.
Then I'm in a really complicated situation.
That was a clip from yesterday, one of the newest movies to hit theaters.
Is it worth seeing, or should you let it be? Here to let us know is our film critic, Will Loper. This is an interesting idea.
Very interesting premise, yeah. And this is truly a great little what-if scenario that's played out. And it's light, breezy fun, and really, you just can't go wrong with Beatles songs for 2 hours. So Himesh Patel plays Jack, a down-on-his-luck musician who's just about to hang up his guitar pick when he gets hit by a bus and wakes up to discover that he is the only person on Earth who remembers the Beatles ever existed. Now, Jack realizes he could perform the songs and pass them off as his own, and that's just what he begins to do. Now, some of the best sequences in the film involve him trying to remember the lyrics to the songs, and that really rings true because, you know, we all think we know songs inside and out until we're faced with actually recreating them word for word, and Jack's struggles are entertaining to watch, especially with Eleanor Rigby. I Want to Hold Your Hands, pretty easy. So there's a little love story in there as well, given the movie its emotional core, and you know, it's nothing we haven't seen before, but it fits in well with the rest of the film. If you just need a lighthearted good time at the movies, Yesterday will be the movie that will make all your troubles seem far away.
But you have to buy into the premise.
Yes. You do. And I mean,
it's not going to make sense.
You just got to suspend your disbelief with every movie, Mark. Come on.
No, it is an interesting question. Like, if nobody knew that this existed before, would you? It's an ethical dilemma. Would you claim it as your own and take credit for it?
Yeah. And I've kind of thought that too. You know, being a filmmaker, if I went back in time, would I recreate this and came before it was made or other things? And it's ask some questions for you, yeah.
And entertaining as well.
And very entertaining, yeah.
So what's the rating?
It was 4 Fab Fours themselves out of 5. Great music.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Great music, and how about the actor in the leading role?
Oh, he's great too. Yeah, and this is his film debut.
Right,
yeah.
that's what I thought.
So
yeah.
he is fantastic.
All right, next week
we've got Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Oh, it's summer. We got to have Spider-Man.
Yeah, superheroes, Marvel.
Every summer.
Who is Spider-Man this time around?
Tom Holland.
Oh,
He's great, yeah.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
Yep, see you guys next week.
Have a good 4th of July.
I will, thank you.
Happy 4th, thanks, Will.
We'll be right back. Take a look at this. We all know the racing sausages at Miller Park, but get a load of these guys. During the Yankees-Red Sox game in London, there was a mascot race with Winston Churchill, Freddie Mercury, King Henry VIII, and the Loch Ness Monster. A lot of Major League Baseball ballparks have giant mascots, but this is a unique group, to say the least.
Freddie, he's closing in.
For the record, yep, Freddie Mercury won the race.
Oh, that's great.
Did he sing "We Are the Champions"?
We Are the Champions, right
exactly.
at the end of that, yes.
He should have.
And speaking of champions, Venus Williams has lost to one of Wimbledon's youngest players.
Corey Coco Gauff beat the 39-year-old 6-4, 6-4 in their first-round clash at the All England Club today. Gauff is the 12th youngest overall to play at Wimbledon in the main draw. But the 11 others didn't make it through qualifying. This year, she became the youngest woman to win a Grand Slam qualifying match in the French Open. And this story, as I'm sure was hard for Venus, but it has a sort of a nice tone, because Coco said all growing up that Venus was her biggest idol and her inspiration to learn the game.
It driven her to tears.
She's only 15 years old.
Wow.
15?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Incredible.
Beating your idol. That's like going bowling with Gary.
I couldn't do that. And maybe with bumpers, I still would lose.
Well, speaking of bumpy, we certainly had a wild weekend in the weather department.
Shelf cloud after shelf cloud after shelf cloud. You could build a bookcase with all these shelves. That's a terrible joke. But we will talk about more storms possibly on the way for later this week in your First Alert forecast in just a few minutes. Good afternoon. I hope you had a really nice Monday so far. Happy 1st of July. The month of June temperature-wise in Madison ended up pretty much where we should have been for the entire month. We started off warm, had a real cold stretch for the middle of the month, and we ended on a warm note. So our monthly departure about a degree below where we should be, but that's negligible. However, our rain, as expected, with all the rain chances last week, we actually made it about an inch above average, or half an inch above average, with our monthly total of about 5.15 inches of rain. Now, as far as July goes, it's another typically wet month with, on average, about 4 inches of rain. And typically our temperatures, or at least our high temperatures, stay in the low 80s throughout much of the month of July. And I think we're going to see pretty typical early July temperatures as we head into the next 7 to 10 days. Now, as far as rain chances go, boy, oh boy, did portions of southwestern Wisconsin get absolutely hammered with that rain, and you could see it kind of just sitting there, creating some flooding concerns early this morning for spots like Platteville across southwestern Wisconsin. Right now, we have a severe thunderstorm watch for portions of Minnesota and northern Iowa. I think the rain chances for the most part will stay in this neck of the woods as we head into tonight, but there is a chance that a few showers will make it, I think, as far south as the Dells. I really think Madison will stay dry tonight for the most part, but into tomorrow, that becomes a different story. Any storms that do form into tonight, especially north and west of Madison, have the chance to be strong to severe, and a similar case is in place for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Some of those storms could be a little bit strong, especially by the time we get to the evening hours. I mentioned all that rain that fell across portions of southwestern Wisconsin. In the Platteville area, just north, radar estimating about 6 inches of rain in the last 24 hours alone. So we have some flash flood watches north and west of Madison, and not pictured here, a flood warning that goes until early tomorrow morning. Luckily, though, we have had a little bit of a break from that rain throughout much of this Monday. Madison on the WISC-TV Skycam showing partly sunny skies. Today's high 85 degrees, about 5 degrees above normal for this time of year. And I think we'll be in similar temperature territory as we head into Tuesday. That sentence sponsored by the letter T. 85, the temperature right now in Madison, 86 in Janesville, 84 in Waukesha, in the mid-80s as well in Platteville, but it feels like the mid-90s for Mineral Point and Platteville, feeling like 88 in Madison, and feeling like the low 90s in Watertown as well. So that humidity will stay high. I think we're feeling like 90 degrees once again into tomorrow, with temperatures staying in the mid-80s. A little bit cooler as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And by the weekend, I think those highs turn into the upper 70s. For tonight, mostly cloudy, mild and muggy. A chance of a shower and storm, especially north of Madison. Temperatures will be near 70. For tomorrow, we're in the mid-80s. Showers and storms once again likely. So on future track, we could see we have a stationary front that is north of us. So I think really that's where the activity is going to mostly remain tonight into the overnight hours. But that front sags a little bit farther south on Tuesday, and we could see that activity follow suit. And some of those storms could be strong to possibly even severe. So we'll watch out for that possibility. And then Wednesday, we do basically it all over again with shower and storms possible. And then on Thursday and Friday, and maybe even on Saturday, we have those rain and storm chances still in the forecast. It does look like we get a bit of a break, though, on Sunday and Monday as high pressure builds in from the west. Temperatures will be around 80 degrees as we head into next week. But then those shower and storm chances do return for Tuesday and Wednesday.
You don't have to water the garden.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, my gosh. Ever again.
Yeah. We'll probably have a drought in August, and you know how that always goes.
Yeah.
But not for now.
Yes.
All right, Dave, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, Green Bay resident Robert Rigel just turned 100 years old. He's a husband, father, and veteran who served in World War II.
He's been honored by the American government multiple times over the years, but as Dakota Sherrick found out, he's not just an American hero, he's also a French hero.
A room filled with veterans and their families came together to celebrate one of their own. 100-year-old Robert Rigel fought in 4 battles during World War II.
He doesn't like to talk about a lot of the stuff. He kind of puts it out of his mind, but he's still very proud.
He's earned a Victory Medal and other high honors, but his latest recognition isn't coming from the American government.
A true American hero. And today, by decision of the French president, he will become officially a true French hero.
Rigel was awarded the French Legion of Honor Medal, the highest military distinction given for those who have accomplished exceptional deeds for France.
I'm so surprised. I had no idea this was coming.
Rigel's son Chuck and many other family members came to the Wisconsin Veterans Home in King to witness the ceremony.
I feel blessed to be part of it, to be his son, and have him still alive when he can experience this.
Consul General of France Guillaume Lacroix wanted to not only recognize Rigel, but all Wisconsin veterans who helped his country.
They risked everything for us. They risked everything for the freedom of America and the freedom of France. Therefore, it is very important for us to recognize their sacrifice.
Though Rigel's service ended 7 decades ago, his fight for freedom is something that will never be forgotten by America or its allies.
I'm very proud of him and very proud of his service, and the fact that he got this medal is just the frosting on the cake, so it's really very special.
He's looking pretty good for 100.
Very special.
Congratulations. Yeah, what a special honor. Well, there's more to come on Live at 4. Doctors are sharing a new treatment for a rare disease.
And coming up tonight on News 3 Now at 5, more on the shooting during Shake the Lake. We'll tell you what measures officials are taking to make sure that other area events coming up this summer are safe. These are tough days for polar bears.
Yeah, they're, I think, inside in the air conditioning.
Yeah, that's a live look at the Henry Vilas Zoo on this Monday afternoon. The results from a drug trial is giving hope to people with a rare genetic disease called spinal muscular atrophy.
Doctors have found that giving the treatment very early when patients are infants seems to be the key to helping them develop like typical children.
Hillary Lane introduces us to a boy who was the first baby in the study.
4-year-old Gabriel Peters loves playing outside with his brothers. It's something his parents never thought they'd see.
Wouldn't think he'd have the opportunity to run around and play with his brothers like he does.
And wrestle like he does.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see it.
Gabriel was diagnosed in utero with spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA. It is a rare genetic disease that results in severe and progressive muscular atrophy and weakness. It can even lead to death. The family's oldest child, 11-year-old Lydia, also has the disease.
We were very upset about when we got the diagnosis that a second child. We're trying to figure out how we're going to fit 2 wheelchairs in the car.
The Peters enrolled Gabriel in a clinical trial for infants with SMA, headed by Dr. Daryl DeVivo at Columbia University Irving Medical Center.
With diseases like this, we want to treat them as early as possible, ideally before they develop any clinical evidence of the disease.
Dr. DeVivo treated Gabriel and other infants in the study with a drug called Spinraza. The medication is injected into the spinal cord and works by increasing the number of motor neurons sent throughout the body.
Of that group, 100% have achieved the ability to sit, and 88% are walking alone, independently.
Lydia is participating in a different phase of the study.
To compare Lydia and him together, it's kind of like night and day. He started crawling and then he started walking at 14 months old, and Lydia never took an independent step, so it's incredible.
Gabriel goes for treatment every 4 months. His parents say it's uncomfortable for him, but the results are worth it. Hillary Lane, CBS News, Saylorsburg, Pennsylvania.
Spinraza is FDA approved and, according to researchers, has no significant side effects.
And as far as how long Gabe and the others will have to continue taking Spinraza, well, Dr. DeVivo says that is still being studied.
When we come back, it's time to pick up the phone and call 270-9933.
It's your chance to talk to Dr. Zorba Pastor. Ask him a question. Again, 270-9933. Zorba is live and in color in the studio today. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. Here is your first alert traffic update, taking a live look at the Beltline and Whitney Way. The accident that was on the shoulder has been cleared since we last spoke, which is good news. So no major backups on either side of the Beltline at this point, but we are noticing those normal slowdowns, especially on the eastbound side. Through Park Street, closer to John Nolan Drive. Westbound not looking too bad. Also Verona Road and Stoughton Road, some minor delays right now. Here are your drive times. A little bit slow. John Nolan to the interstate eastbound on the Beltline, average speed of around 40 miles per hour. Some other routes in and around Madison, a little bit slow. On 151, Sun Prairie, southbound to downtown, that's 8 minutes with an average speed of around 20 miles per hour. That's your first alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you. This traffic. A freak hailstorm flooded streets of Guadalajara, Mexico with more than 3 feet of ice. A blanket of hail and ice made travel virtually impossible. Local residents had never seen the extent of such a hailstorm before. The cleanup continues. This is Mexico, keep in mind.
It was 81 degrees there today.
Right.
So this is
Look at this.
fascinating and frightening at the same time.
There's nothing wrong with the weather. Everything's fine. There's no change.
Wow, isn't that something?
Well, the doctor is in today on Live at 4.
Dr. Zorba Pastor is here to take your medical questions. Hi, Zorba.
Hi, good to be here.
The number to call is 270-9933.
And it's the middle of July. It's 1st of July. Put on your sunscreen.
That's
if you're
right.
going outside.
You know, and what I really like is that there's stick sunscreen for your face. You're not going to get your hands all dirty, you know, and all greasy. Stick sunscreen on the face, and then find a sunscreen you'll like. I mean, it's the lotion, maybe it's the oil, and maybe it's the spray, but use it.
And put it on before you go out.
Yes, always before you go out. The nice thing about the stick one is that you just put it in your pocket and you put it on your face. That's where we get most of our sun.
Okay.
And you have to reapply?
And reapply. About every 2 to 4 hours. That's what we have to do when we're in the sun, when we sweat.
All right.
That's really
270-9933, the number to call. We'll start with Betty in Madison. Hi, Betty.
Hi.
Hi, what's your question?
My question is sodium. I have like muscle cramps in shoulders and my calves of my leg. I went to the doctor and they said I needed to hydrate myself, but that was really not the problem. I was low on sodium. I ended up in the hospital, and I want to know what caused this low sodium.
Sure. Well,
I'm eating chips. And
No, I wouldn't go and eat chips. Let me tell you.
Well,
talk a
I've
little
been
bit.
eating salt.
Let me tell you a little bit about sodium. That is not the answer. There are a few things. First of all, there are medications that commonly cause low sodium. Hydrochlorothiazide, common diuretics. That's the most common thing that reduces sodium. Then there's something called SIADH, Syndrome of Inappropriate Antidiuretic Hormone. Big word, and it means that things are a little bit off in your body. And if you increase the sodium, it doesn't work. What you have to do sometimes is actually decrease the fluid that you're drinking. And the treatment for that is actually, they reduce the fluid to maybe 1 to 2 liters a day. The way to find out if you have that is you have to go to your doctor. They measure the osmolality, that's the concentration of sodium in your urine and in your blood. And certain drugs can actually produce that. So if you've got a low sodium, do not eat salt. That's usually not the answer. It's usually the medication that you're taking or some other problem.
Interesting.
Go ahead. Human body is amazing.
It is amazing. It is in many ways.
All right, let's go to Mary in Mount Horeb. Hi, Mary.
Yes.
Hi, what's your question?
I have a question about hand sanitizer. I have 2 bottles of it, 8 ounces each, from Walgreens. I tried to get an answer from them. I got a runaround. What is the established date line on this? Can you keep it?
Oh, sure. Hand sanitizer is actually alcohol, rubbing alcohol in a lotion. That's actually quite nice. There is no out date. They basically will probably last for 20 years. But what happens is many things have an out date because the feds require an out date on anything that you happen to have on the shelf. Like salt, there's no out date, but you look at the bottom of the salt container and it tells you it's no good after a certain time. That's not really the case.
But
so the answer is it lasts as long as you feel that's on there, that alcohol on there, it lasts.
And are they beneficial?
Oh, they're very good. Hand sanitizer is much better. In fact, if you put a squirt of hand sanitizer on your hand and you rub it around your hands until they're dry. That's actually often more hygienic than putting your hands under the sink and doing it like this and that with the water, which is what most of us do. Hand sanitizers are very, very good. One pump, that's all you need.
Can you overdo it?
You can overdo anything in life.
Yeah, that's true.
No, if you overdo it, your hand gets dry, but you can't, other than that.
You don't get drunk.
No, you
Okay.
do not get drunk on the hand sanitizer.
Samantha in Madison. Hi, Samantha. What's your question?
My question is, I work on a cement floor, and I may not wear the best shoes, but my left leg, always has a ball under the arch of the foot, which is where it's painful, but the right leg never gets one.
What I would recommend is shoe inserts. They make a difference. You may not have an expensive shoe, but you go to Walgreens, Walmart, Target, any one of the stores that have a shoe insert, and what happens is it changes the way you're walking in the shoe, and often if you've got a muscle cramp or a ball on the bottom of the foot, it just changes the way you walk, and that can make a difference. It's usually a $5 or $10 insert can make all the difference in the world. If that fails, you have to go to more like the $20 or $30 inserts. Start cheap, it usually works.
I have them, but I had to step up.
You had the more expensive. Yeah, often you have to step. But a lot of people, the inexpensive ones work well.
All right. Let's go to Bob in DeForest. Hi, Bob. What's your question?
My question is, I had an accident, per se, in the driveway. I was working on my bike, and it fell over on my ankle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's been like 5 weeks. I'm just starting to walk on it, but the swelling, when I walk on it, comes back. Per se, if I have it elevated at night and stuff like that. Do you think I should go to the fucking... Excuse me.
Pardon me?
Sorry about that.
I think
you think I should go to the emergency room and have it checked out? Or?
I think you should go to the doctor. I don't think it's an emergency room visit. You know, that'll cost more money, more deductible. I think it's really important for you to go to the doctor and get it checked out. And the reason is you need an x-ray to see whether or not you have a little break in that ankle. If it continues to swell, see if something else is going on. Often, a little physical therapy, a little anti-inflammatory, and you can rehabilitate it. But it definitely needs a doctor visit, especially after 5 weeks.
All right, let's go to Dee Dee in Columbus. How are you? Dee Dee, you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's your question?
I was told that there's a chemical in sunblock, certain kinds of sunblock, that'll take the color out of tattoos. And I was trying to figure out what sunblock would be best for putting over tattoos.
Well, as far as I know, tattoos are not affected by sunblock because they're beneath the surface. And sunblock, all the SPF sunblocks are very similar. As far as I know, they do not affect tattoos.
But they sort of fade over time, I mean.
And tattoos fade over time. If you look at a tattoo on an 80-year-old, it looks different than on an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Probably the content as well.
Yeah.
All right, Zorba, thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you all for calling in. And we'll be right back with the final check of your forecast.
I still remember,
Dave is here. It's another steamy evening.
Yeah, the humidity just will not stop outside. I do think the storm activity will be a little bit farther north and west of Madison compared to in days past. We actually do have some severe weather across portions of southern Minnesota that we're keeping a close eye on, but that's basically heading straight west to east. So I really don't think many of us have anything to really concern ourselves with this round of severe weather. Tomorrow, though, that front moves a little bit farther south, and so the storm threat moves with it. Temperatures right now are generally in the mid-80s across southern Wisconsin, so for tonight, can't rule out an isolated shower or thunderstorm, but most of us will be mostly cloudy, mild and muggy with temperatures near 70. Tomorrow, though, those storm chances come a little bit closer to Madison with highs in the mid-80s.
Well, the mushroom farmers like it.
That's about it at this point.
All right, Dave, thank you. Tomorrow here on Live at 4, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will be along to answer your plant and garden questions.
And Consumer Report says not all cold brew coffee is created equal. We'll break through the buzz tomorrow on Live at 4.
Okay.
Well, in today's Final Touch, get ready to feel old.
40 years ago today, Sony released its first portable cassette player. The Walkman hit the market on July 1st, 1979 for $150. It became a blockbuster hit, selling 50,000 devices